And greetings, everyone, and welcome to Buzz for Good, where we talk all things nonprofit, the people they serve and the good they do. And today I am buzzing about an incredible and inspiring arts project that will be opening June 1st at a new nonprofit art space in downtown Roanoke. It features portraits of 10 of the city's most iconic citizens, from Dick and Dave of the Q99 Mornin Show to Mayor Joe Cobb and former Carilion Clinic CEO Agee. On today's show, I will be talking about the exhibit with the founders of the nonprofit art space, Art on First, and share the inspiration behind the exhibit from its creator, Whitney Brock. I will also play for you portions of our newest Buzz that aired this week on public television, starring a nonprofit that helps women and men facing an unplanned pregnancy. I am Michael Hemphill, creator and host of the TV show Buzz, that features nonprofit organizations and the great work that they do in our communities, and the marketing professionals affiliated with the American Advertising Federation of Roanoke who donate their time and talent, helping these nonprofits achieve more buzz. And you can find out more about our work on our website, buzzforgood.com. That's buzz, B-U-Z-Z, 4, good.com, as well as our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, all at Buzz for Good. We have a busy, or dare I say buzzy, week ahead of us. On Wednesday, May 28th, on Blue Ridge PBS, our Buzz starring Blue Ridge Literacy airs at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then on Thursday, May 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern, tune into our Facebook and YouTube channels. Once again, that's at Buzz for Good, B-U-Z-Z, 4, good, for our newest Buzz Live talk show at the Roanoke Higher Education Center. Now, I like to call Buzz Live the Tonight Show for nonprofits. And on Thursday, May 29th, we will be at the Higher Education Center with an hour-long show featuring conversations with the center's leaders as they celebrate their 25th anniversary this year. And then Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central, we premiere another new Buzz on Alabama Public Television and our YouTube channel starring the nonprofit Down Syndrome of Alabama. It is a truly heartwarming episode, sure to captivate you whether you live in Alabama or beyond. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Partners in Financial Planning, a Southwest Virginia financial management firm, partnersinfinancialplanning.com. And now back to today's show. Last week, I had the good fortune of attending a reception at the Jefferson Center in Roanoke for a program called Art of Leaders. It featured portraits by acclaimed artist Whitney Brock of 10 Roanoke icons. Again, Dick and Dave, Mayor Joe Cobb, former Carilion Clinic CEO Agee, as well as longtime Roanoke Times columnist Dan Casey, famed high school basketball coach Joe Gaither, Mill Mountain Theater's Ginger Poole, Roanoke Symphony Orchestra maestro David Stewart Wiley, Virginia Western Community College president Robert Sandel, philanthropist Haywood Freyland, and civil rights leader Brenda Hale. Now, I was one of some 300 in attendance, and I couldn't help but hope that more would have the chance to appreciate these extraordinary pieces of art. And so I was thrilled to learn that they will be on display all of June at a new nonprofit art space called Art on First. This week, I got to meet the co-founders and now co-directors of Art on Space, Annie Schultz and Rick Sheridan. All right, well, it is my pleasure to welcome here to Buzz for Good Annie Schultz, who is a co-founder along with her husband of the brand new nonprofit Art on First. Annie, welcome.
Correct. Hi, thank you. Welcome to you. I appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely.
He may be down here soon, but he's doing something else for right now. So we started Art on First as a for-profit a couple of years ago, and we were accepting everybody, and being people from LGBT community, people with mental health issues, people who were using art for healing. And we realized that, as we were accepting emerging artists, and actually that was the title of our first show, Emerging Artists. We had like over 100 pieces in that show. It was insane. So we were doing rotating open calls for artists. And that's how we got all these people, because it was an open call. And we said, anybody can apply, anybody can get in. This is not, we're representing you. There are enough galleries in Roanoke that do that, and we appreciate that. We like to be sort of the on-ramp.
Gotcha.
So we discovered that actually what we were doing, and both of us have worked in nonprofit most of our careers, and so what we were doing was more like sort of a nonprofit kind of activities. So we closed the old LLC last year and decided this year we wanted to open Art on First as a nonprofit. So we went through all of the process of getting, this is a big process of getting the paperwork completed and all the approvals. And so now we are officially tax exempt 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And our mission is basically, and I'm reading our mission statement for you really quickly because it's exactly why we want to be here. Our mission is to provide a safe and welcoming place for artists of all abilities, income levels, challenges, and experience to learn, create, and display their art in a gallery setting. We want to be a resource for the community to discover new artists and for new artists to develop an audience and collectors for their work. We want to provide a welcoming space for practicing art for personal growth and healing and recovery. So that's what we do.
Lovely.
And we have done workshops. We've done one of the first things that we did as this year was a show for a woman named Mackenzie Rose. And Mackenzie was the survivor of a really severe domestic violence attack. Her fiance, I guess, almost killed her with, he stabbed her through the throat with a butcher knife, and she almost died. And one of those open for calls for artists, Mackenzie answered that and entered 3 pieces in the show. And I looked at her pieces, they were drawings and they were beautiful, but they were very compelling and kind of, you know, I don't know, I just had to ask her, tell me about your art. And she told me the story of what happened to her. She's out in the open. This is not like I'm saying something in confidence. She told me the story. She has written a book of poetry about it. So she wrote the poems and she did the paintings and the drawings. And when I offered her the show, she was actually on her honeymoon. She just got married again. I mean, you know, just recently we were saying he must be a really good guy
for you to trust that much again.
And
right.
So, and he is. I mean, his family's lovely. She's just wonderful. And so we gave her that show, and she just kind of closed herself in a closet. Basically, she has an apartment in Blacksburg because she is a PhD student in, and I think she may have just finished her PhD in trauma studies. And she teaches at Shenandoah University up in Winchester. Okay. So we did this thing for her, and it just felt so good to do that. And we were selling her poetry books, and all of the results, all of the proceeds went to the Women's Center at Virginia Tech and to TAP for their domestic violence program. And then she did a workshop free for all of the people who wanted to come who had been domestic violence survivors. So that's the kind of stuff that we really like to do and would love to be able to just fund it ourselves. Yeah. Obviously, that's not an option for us, or, you know, it definitely is not an option, but we just love doing things like that. So we've done that several times. And I just met with somebody yesterday, and we've got a whole lot of plans for doing things. And I had a child with a disability. And so I have a big place in my heart for people with disabilities, and we have done a couple of things like that too. You know, let them come in and look at the art and talk to them about that. And children, we have children's class now that parents can bring their kids the last Friday of every month. So we're doing a lot, and we're still doing the rotating open calls for artists. We're not doing it every month. We just way too much.
All right, well, Hold on. Let's take a moment to catch our breaths here. You got a lot happening there, and I want to make sure that we cover all those things. So, first of all, let me reintroduce you here for those who are just tuning into the show. I am with Annie Schultz, one of the founders of the brand new nonprofit Art on First, a gallery and creative space for emerging artists in downtown Roanoke, Virginia. So, you kind of have talked about the mission of Art on First and kind of why you were there, but rewind a little bit just so we can learn more about you and your husband. Why has art been so important to your lives? Why do you care about this project?
Well, for me, I have been painting or doing some kind of art most of my life. I've done stained glass. I was a potter for about 25 years until it wiped my hands out. It's hard on my hands. And I've been painting since 1994. So I love art. I love making art. I taught art to children
Why?
in preschool. So I've been around art for a long time.
Yeah, why do you love art?
Why do I love art? There is something about, and I think I described this in a statement that somebody wanted me to say. When I was a potter, and you would put clay on the wheel, and the wheel was going like this, and you finally get your hands together, and it just is smooth, as you know that it's balanced, and then you can make whatever you want. There's something about painting that's the same way. When I put a stroke of paint somewhere, or when I find that I am communicating what I want to communicate with a painting, there's such a wonderful feeling. I can step back and go, yeah, that's it.
Mhm.
And a lot of people have not gotten there yet. And I want to help them get there. We want to help. And we've told people, they come in and say, "Oh, nobody's going to want to buy my painting. Nobody's going to like my paintings." But I talk to them about it. And sometimes I'll say, what if you did this? Would
Mhm.
you like it better if you did that? And they would try it and they go, oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. So helping people appreciate what they do for themselves and not be so concerned about being judged by others, and also just giving people a place. I've had so many people say, I've never had a place to show my art
Mhm.
before. And some of these are really accomplished artists, and some of them are brand new, and they've never seen their art on the wall in a gallery. I've had people cry when they came in
Mhm.
and saw their work in a gallery, and they bring their whole family and they take pictures. It's just a wonderful opportunity to, I think, fill a void in Roanoke that a lot of people have told me is here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and art, I mean, there's this kind of dual process happening there. You're creating the art because of what it does for yourself,
Right.
but then you're also creating the art because you have something to say to the world and you need an audience to at least be there to hear it or to see it, to engage with what you're trying to say. It's
Mhm.
not just this private lonely exercise. It's something that you're trying to communicate to the world, and having that gallery space allows for that.
It does. And I have my own studio space here in this gallery, which is how the gallery got started. Rick and I got together, and he owns this building, and this space was empty. And so he said, well, you can just use that as a studio space. And then we said, well, what do we do with the rest of it? It's a big space. So we turned it into a gallery. So that's how that got started. And one of the very first show we had, one of our artists brought in a digital painting of a pug on a skateboard, and then the next time she brought a 4-foot Buddha made out of Legos. Both of which we accepted because we thought it was really cool. And now she has told us that, we really helped get her started in art, and she is just kind of on fire now. So that's the kind of stuff I really want to encourage and continue to encourage.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, again, quick introduction here. I'm with Annie Schultz, who, along with her husband, Rick Sheridan, have started the Art on First nonprofit in downtown Roanoke,
Mhm.
a gallery space along with a space for emerging artists to have a place to work.
Right.
And you were talking about, these emerging artists, and you mentioned in particular the LGBTQ
Hmm.
audience or of artists. Uh,
Hmm.
why in particular did you kind of reach out to them, or how did that become identified with your nonprofit?
We didn't really reach out to any, we just put out a public open call.
Hmm.
And I think just people just started bringing their work in, and we didn't know whether they were LGBTQ, LMNOP, it didn't really matter. We looked at the work.
Yeah.
And, and there were some that we thought this is absolutely beautiful, and some that we thought that's interesting, a little edgy. Let's see. We have to be a little bit careful here because we also have children's work here. So we didn't find out they were LGBTQ until they came and we met them,
Hmm.
and then they told us. But some of the paintings, several of them, were about their transition and how painful that was. I mean, some of these paintings have been so emotional. When you look at them, you know exactly what they're thinking, and or exactly what they want to communicate. And others are just like beautiful flowers or something, and you don't know anything about the person until you meet them and they tell you what's going on. So we didn't do an intentional reach out, but we are welcoming. And I think a lot of people have said, we really appreciate how welcoming you are. And there he is, the other half.
Well, all right. Well, let's welcome
Rare.
here
This is Rick Sheridan.
Rick Sheridan,
Yes. And
co-founder of the Art on First Gallery. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, so I've been hearing a lot from Annie about kind of her inspiration for creating the gallery. Do you have a unique story to share in, maybe what inspired you to want to do this work?
Not a unique story. We talk about it a lot, so it's a very
Yeah.
common approach to how, because we are, as I heard her last say, that we're a welcoming gallery, and that's where we put out our calls for artists are open. They don't have to have a reputation. They just
Hmm.
enter it. They don't have to be of a particular type of person. Everybody's welcome.
Well, as to, at one time emerging artists yourselves, how important would a space like Arlen First had been to your development?
Oh, it's, I think, a really critical component of developing as an artist is to have a place to show your art and to have people discuss it and look at it and give you
Hmm.
feedback about if you're accomplishing your goals or not. And
we have
so that, I think, in a gallery works for really well to do that.
and we have a whole other level of this gallery, which is a dark room, and Rick's a photographer, so he needs to tell you a little bit about his background too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a photography show a couple years ago, and met a whole bunch of people in the Roanoke Photo Collective, and many of them were very interested in traditional film techniques in photography and processes. But there's no public darkroom available to anyone. Most of them have closed down, gone out of business, or changed their interest into digital photography and not film photography.
Right. As a
And
former Roanoke Times reporter, I recall those days when, the photo department had, umpteen number of photographers and going into the dark room, and there they were all developing their prints that were going to appear in the next day's newspaper. Yeah, it's just an industry or a medium that's completely gone now for the most part.
very much so. But there's quite a few of these members of the collective are very interested in that film photography. And so we have started this process here as a membership program to support the gallery and the photography darkroom. And we have workshops and such to teach people how to do it. And then they're welcome to come and use the darkroom anytime.
Beautiful. Well, I want to transition here a little bit to this exciting exhibit that you guys have opening on June the 1st. And once again, I'm with Annie Schultz and Rick Sheridan, the husband-wife combo co-owners of the new nonprofit Art on First in downtown Roanoke.
We're the directors of it as we changed it to a not-for-profit.
We're-
Oh, gotcha.
Now.
Okay.
Now-
We were the founders, but we are now gallery directors, and we have a board.
Awesome. Okay. So this exhibit, I was fortunate enough to have stumbled into the reveal of it recently at the Jefferson Center, where Whitney Brock created the art of leaders exhibit featuring 10 different portraits that she has done of various leaders who are, kind of connected to art, but not especially in the Roanoke Valley, just 10 prominent names. And it was a spectacular night. And I'm so thrilled to see that those 10 portraits are going to be on display at your gallery starting June the 1st. How did you guys get connected with Whitney and this exhibit?
Tell her that.
Whitney called me up, but we're friends with Whitney and John. And Whitney called me up and said she had this idea, about a Threads for Roanoke of people that have really contributed to the culture of the city in a variety of different ways. And so she said she needed some photography done for it. And as I'm a photographer, and I said, we have space here, we can set up for a portrait series here. And so she would bring these subjects down here, and I would shoot them under her direction pretty much, because she had a goal of what she wanted to find in the image that she would then be able to replicate in her painting.
Gotcha.
And so we had those 10 sessions here.
Yeah.
It was super fun meeting all of those.
And he was the photographer.
I was the background. You saw those pictures of Whitney and the back of his head taking the picture. I was taking the picture behind the picture.
Yeah.
Very, very meta. Very meta. You were photographing him.
That's how we got him here. I mean, I was talking to Whitney about this show too, and she was trying to figure out where she wanted to introduce it and where she wanted to show it, and she had some goals for what she wanted to do with it. And I just said, we have a gallery, and if you'd like to just show them here. So we came up with the opening. She and worked with Mary Miller, and the opening was at the Jefferson. We were there too, and it was amazing. And her speech was incredible.
Yeah.
And then we decided that she can just have the gallery for the month of June, and she's putting her paintings up here, and she's got a whole long list of activities that she's going to be doing throughout the month of June. So it's really going to be a lot of fun. And that's all that's going to be here just for the month of June. So I hope people will come by and see it and come to the workshops and be a part of it.
Well, the personalities that she captured are names known to everybody who lives in the region, or should be names known to everybody in the region. We've got Dick and Dave from Q99. We've got Mayor Joe Cobb. There was David Stewart Wiley and his wife. He's the maestro for Roanoke Symphony Orchestra. Got Coach Joe Gaither, a longtime basketball coach in Roanoke. Dan Casey, one of my former compadres at the Roanoke Times, and Ginger Poole from Mill Mountain Theater, Nancy Agee from Carilion Clinic, Bobby Sandel from Virginia Western, Haywood Fralin. I mean, these are some heavy hitters, and I don't mean this to be any disrespect to the Art on First, but these 10 portraits deserve a showing in the Smithsonian or in the Taubman, because they are just fabulous representations. And maybe that's the next step after you guys.
It might be. She's been talking to the Taubman, and they're working on something maybe, but I don't know where they are with that conversation.
Yeah.
I expect her to be showing up in a minute, but I don't know.
But how I mean, what a great partnership and a springboard for Art on First, having such a spectacular exhibit right as you were getting your 501c3 nonprofit status.
And I think part of the reason it's so exciting is that we have given her the whole month. I don't think anybody would be able to do that. We have that opportunity and that option. So we just gave her the gallery for the whole month. And she can do she really wants to focus this time. The Art of Leaders focused on the people that she painted. And this time she really wants to focus on the art of portraiture. That is her passion. And so she's going to be doing portrait painting every Friday. They're going to be doing speed portrait painting. There are all kinds of people she's gotten artists from all over Roanoke that she's gotten to come and do art talks at different times. So we have the whole schedule on our website.
And it's a huge schedule. I mean, there are 12 different events throughout the month of June, starting with the grand opening ribbon cutting on June the 1st, all the way through June 28th. 12 different events. You can find out more about that at the art or just art on first. That's ARTON number one ST.org. It's spectacular. It's called Whitney Brock, A Thread Through Roanoke.
Mhm.
What is your hope for this exhibit, for the art on first?
For Art on First, I think we will have a lot more people who will know about us. They'll learn about us, and come in and participate in some of these things. And that's really and helping Whitney get her portraiture focus out there to the public, and increase that. And it's just fun for us. And we are just gonna be sitting back and watching Whitney work. That's another nice thing.
Yeah.
We get a month off, but we'll be here mostly. But it is. I'm hoping that that's going to help, and that is also going to provide a broader audience for Whitney's work, because the Jefferson Center had only so many people, and it was tickets and all that. You don't need a ticket to come in here. It's completely free. I mean, if somebody wants to donate, we do have a little donation box and a QR code.
As we're a
We are
non-profit.
now nonprofit,
That's
so
right.
we gotta keep the lights on. But otherwise, we're hoping to open this to a much broader audience who would never have been able to see these paintings anywhere else, and probably wouldn't have even gone to the Taubman. We have people who are on the street who come in sometimes and want to look at the art. And I'm doing some things this summer. I'm going to put a table out front like we did during the Daisy Art Parade, and just have art activities for anybody who wants to do them. They can draw on the sidewalk. I have prompts for them. Think about your favorite book and, draw something that you remember, something like that. So yeah, we're trying to bring more people in.
Well, and why don't we conclude on my last question here? And once again, joined here on Buzz for Good by Rick Sheridan and Annie Schultz, two spectacular artists in their own right, who are co-founders and now co-directors of the nonprofit Art on First, gallery space along with a workspace for emerging artists in downtown Roanoke. And more about that at Art on First, ARTON number one ST.org. Kind of last question, for those who may be tuning in here and are not artistic, don't feel as though they have a creative bone in their bodies, why why should they care about what you're doing, and what do you hope they perhaps glean from this conversation and perhaps a visit to your gallery?
You would be surprised how many people come in here and say, I don't have an artistic bone in my body. And then you see them and you see work that they've done and you go, oh, yes, you do. And we keep trying to tell them it's the process. Once you get started, you're hooked. And we have supplies and we help them, do get started. Do you want to comment on that, Rick?
No, it's everyone is creative, and it's just a matter of finding the channel that works best for you.
Yeah.
And we try to foster that and giving many different kinds of art an opportunity here that people can experiment with and try out and see how it resonates with them.
Beautiful.
Including the dark room.
Including what?
The dark room.
So many,
Yeah.
everybody who comes in here says, oh, I had a dark room in college. Oh, I had a dark room in high school. So
Yeah.
it's really fun for people to come in.
How this will be lastly, how is our region impacted by art? What
Wow.
does art do for all of us as a collective whole?
Well, as a collective whole, I think it's a very healing process, the process of art, and either looking at it, it can give you tranquility, it can make you think, as well as if you're engaged in it or do a workshop, you have, while that's going on, you get very lost in it. And so it's very good for you mentally and physically. And then the amount of visitors we get to the gallery from out of town is that they are talking about Roanoke becoming a destination for, like, let's do the weekend, let's go somewhere. And they say, well, Roanoke has outdoor activities, it has great restaurants, and it has a very nice art scene. And so let's go and check out everything that's going on there. And so this is becoming a really tremendous destination, which helps everybody in the community.
Yep.
Beautiful. Well, Rick Sheridan and Annie Schultz with the Art on First Gallery in downtown Roanoke. That's ARTON1st.org. Thanks so much for coming on to Buzz for Good and sharing with us about your brand new nonprofit.
Thank you for having us.
Many thanks again to Annie and Rick for creating Roanoke's newest nonprofit art space, Art on First. And I'm looking forward to visiting in June to see again the portraits by Whitney Brock. And here is a recording of Whitney's speech last week at the unveiling of these portraits at the Jefferson Center.
Wow, you all actually came. Thank you, Ryan, that was awesome. Oh, man. So I was gonna talk about the amazing journey that has brought me to the stage tonight. How on January 15th at 5 p.m. 2024, I sent David Page a message in Messenger. I wrote, "Hey David, I'm one of the silly girls that painted in the courtyard mural at the station eons ago and still kind of do the art thing, insert smiley face. I'm reaching out to you because I'm working on an idea for a project and I need your help. I want to do a series of portraits of local influencers and community contributors in a contemporary feel." And I went on and on and on. I'm so surprised you did not unfriend me immediately. And
that close.
I'm always that close with everybody. Just unfriend button's awesome. So I was gonna, that really started the journey outside my comfort zone, and it began at that moment. I was gonna talk about the many challenges I faced along the way. The first being the whole cityscape behind Dick and Dave. It literally took forever, and I was already behind schedule on my painting #1. So that was not good. Thanks to Joe Cobb, practically painted himself. And Maestro Wiley's sequin shirt. And Leah's million coin skirt. Yeah, I still have literally PTSD. I twitch every now and then when I think about it. Oh, and then walks in Brenda's blouse. Yeah, I clearly underestimated the wardrobe factor in this project. Then on to Coach Joe, his diamond-encrusted ruby ring. So Bernice came to the photo shoot with Joe, and she saw that he was wearing that ring, and she said, and I quote, "Joe, if I knew you were wearing that thing, I would not gotten out of the car." True story. And then there's Dan, hairiest armed man I've ever met. But the challenge with Dan was he wouldn't shut up during his photo shoot. He's telling stories, his arms are flailing. I had to take 5 different images collectively to put them, one arm from this one hand from that one, head from, to make his portrait come to life. It was awesome, Dan. With Ginger Poole, when she walked in with a white shirt and blue jeans, I was elated. I was like, finally somebody. But then she proceeds to pull out and dump out 50 play scripts, and the challenge again was there. And the one I couldn't grapple with was how to properly apologize to Nancy for breaking her model helicopter. It was a typical Whitney Spaz moment. I don't know what happened. And have you gotten that fixed? Oh, send me the bill. I can sleep tonight. I was mortified, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh my God. I called everybody I knew to guess what I just did. And Bobby. So I asked them all to bring a little something to the photo shoot of meeting. So what does Bobby bring? He brings his dog, Pearl. I got this, no biggie. But the biggest challenge was completing 7 little forgeries from Freyland's collection, which officially put me a month behind schedule. Oh, and then Haywood found out that Bobby was painted with his dog. So let's just throw in another dog into the mix. Whatever. I I did laugh out loud when Bobby texted me and he said, Haywood is always copying me. The challenge of long studio hours, 7 days a week for 13 months. That was a challenge. And I was also going to talk about the wonderful relationships that I had the privilege of forging. Even though you all made me feel completely inadequate as a human being, you're all in my heart now. So to keep this brief, I will talk about my whys. So, start with Why. It's a great book by Simon Sinek. I've read it a couple of times. And in the intro, he writes something like this. Some leaders come into the world with a predisposition to inspire. The ability is not reserved for them exclusively. We can all learn to lead and to inspire others in order to advance our ideas and visions. So why? I had an idea. My idea was master the portrait so I could inspire and influence others. Why? Because I had to paint high-profile people that were all very recognizable in order to confirm the skill of capturing a likeness. Why? I wanted to connect with the people that make Roanoke matter. I don't want to take this wonderful place for granted, and I wanted to know who was making it all happen. Why? I wanted to tell their stories. Why? I wanted to make an impact, and I had to create 10 or more in order to do that. Why? I wanted to bring the fading art of the portrait back into the light. And the way to do that was to do a really good job, and so it was going to be admirable. Why? I wanted to create art that got the attention of our youth. In this scrolling culture we live in today, I wanted them to have pause for a second or two and ponder. Why paint them? What did they do that was so great? And what can I do to have my story told on canvas and to be immortalized in history? Why? I wanted to inspire other artists to raise their own bar, to be better than their best, and to be better than that. Why? I wanted to say thank you and to celebrate the people that make this an extraordinary place. Unfortunately, I can't paint you all, but maybe one day. Why? I wanted to leave a legacy, something that future generations will view and learn from and be inspired by their stories or brushstrokes or both. Why? I wanted to invent my own integrity. This is a good one. So I set a big goal and cultivated the discipline to reach it. So I formulated the Brock Code. John does this with me. So now, the Brock Code is not for everyone. It's up at 5 a.m. It's a B12 hit, into the gym by 6, cold showers, fasting, kale and sardine dinners, no sugar, to bed by 9:15, a bunch of gratitude, and a lot of goal setting. Why? I wanted to bring people together around art and culture, and here we are. Funny that most of my whys follow a lot of leadership patterns. I always know where I am in my speech. All right, we're doing good. By answering all my whys, I found clarity, honesty, and honorable intentions, which is where I believe the greatest things come from. Before I leave this stage, I want to thank my dear husband, John, who's up there manning the equipment, for his unwavering love and support, and for not complaining about kale and sardines. I want to thank Mary Miller. If it wasn't for Mary's command, we would not be here tonight. I want to thank my cameraman, Rick Sheridan. I want to thank all the sponsors for sure. It was very generous of you to make this happen. And lastly, I want to thank our sons, both officers and pilots in the United States Army, who pledged an oath to serve and protect us so that we could do stuff like this. Thank you.
Now, from creating new art to creating new life. Again, that's what I love about nonprofits, because they literally do everything. This week on public television in my home state of Alabama, we presented a new buzz starring the nonprofit Sav-A-Life. Sav-A-Life provides wraparound services for women and men facing an unplanned pregnancy. Our country increasingly claims to be pro-life, yet provides fewer and fewer resources and help for that life once it is born. And you can look no further than the dramatic cuts in President Trump's big, beautiful bill to Medicaid, Medicare, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, and so on. Not to mention our country's continued non-investment in paid maternity leave and universal child care. Nonprofits and the private sector can never do what our government can or should, but organizations like Sav-A-Life are doing what they can to support families till the child's third birthday. And here are some of their stories on our newest buzz. You've heard of the pregnancy guidebook, What to Expect When You're Expecting. But what about what to expect when you're not expecting? That's the life-changing reality that confronts countless women each year who have to navigate an unplanned pregnancy. Hers is a crisis that has become too politicized in our country, which unfortunately calls itself pro-life, but offers less and less support once that life is born. So when my good friend and videographer extraordinaire, Stash Barra of See It Productions, encouraged me to take a look at a Birmingham, Alabama nonprofit called Sav-A-Life, well, I was happy to give it some buzz.
Sav-A-Life is a nonprofit, faith-based organization that has as its mission to share the truth of God's Word with women, men, families who are finding themselves in an unexpected pregnancy situation. We're there to meet them where they are, love them right there, and just try to take care of them. Welcome with open arms, no judgment, and help them get the help they need, find hope and help, and hopefully redemption for their circumstances that they're in.
People that are pro-life, they can say it all they want to, and they can be it, but what does that actually look like for you? What does that actually mean? And that means welcoming single moms or teenagers that are pregnant and not judging them, and not shaming them, but really coming alongside them, being there for them. I'm Gracie Barker, and I'm 18, and I do online school in high school. We always grew up in the church, going to all the events and being in a Christian school. So my grandfather was one that founded this church. So everyone kind of knew who we were. Barker, that's your last name, that's kind of associated with who you are. So we were in the Bible, I feel like I definitely was a Christian even before I got pregnant, so. It was a Friday night, and it was at a football game. I had some extra time, and I was you know what? I went with my friend. I was let me just take a pregnancy test. I was it was kind of a joke, but also not. It was positive. And I was what? I remember kind of just asking the Lord, why me? Because in my eyes, I wasn't this horrible person. And so I actually told my parents on my birthday that I was pregnant. So that's fun.
She was 17 that day, and she told me, and I really thought she was teasing at first. I really did. I was without words.
Don't have sex before marriage, and if you do, you're a horrible person. They didn't tell me that, but that's kind of how I felt.
I think the role Sav-A-Life played was really Gracie having an independent place she could go to, and she would be loved and supported and learn things that we may not even think about, telling her.
very educational. I like to know like what to expect, like, like different milestones with Zane.
Loved working with Gracie. She was not emotional. She was there. Let's get the facts. I can tell, especially later on, she wants to be the best mom that she can be.
PA has really been great. You can tell she genuinely cares about you and she prays for you. And it was also fun to be with other people that were kind of in the same, not situation, like everyone has different stories, but we all had like one common theme, an unexpected pregnancy. The environment they create, like it is so like judge-free zone. You don't feel like you are being looked down upon. The only like person that matters in view of me is God. I don't really have to worry about what my high school friends or anyone thinks about me, because I'm really no different than any other Christian that has made mistakes, Just some bring kids into the world and some do other things. So this is Zane. Zane, can you say hey? Anyways, he's 9 months old, and his dad just picked the name. And I was like, oh yeah. And I think we looked at it and it was like God's gift. That's what it means.
Zane, he's been the most wonderful addition to our family. He's brought a lot of love and laughter, into our home. And sometimes we sit around and ask ourselves, what did we do before Zane came along?
When I look at Zane, I'm just reminded of the Lord's faithfulness to me and to him. Just really every step of the way, the Lord has provided people and places like Sav-A-Life to just kind of come alongside me, and I see all of that in him. And so I'm really thankful.
The way that I felt about my pregnancy, I didn't have positive feelings about it. I was feeling really down and depressed. I had only told about 2 people at this point, in which I really didn't have any support about my pregnancy. Whenever I came to the Sav-A-Life Center, I had already made an online appointment at Planned Parenthood in Atlanta because I was getting pressure to have an abortion.
It's scary whenever you find that out, just because you're like, oh, I'm gonna miss out on all these fun years with my friends, and then I'm not gonna be able to do this, So at first I didn't want to have a baby. I was really, I guess I was pushing Maddie a lot.
After our first meeting at the center where we had our first ultrasound, that was the first time that me and Daniel really confronted the pregnancy together.
That night, I talked to my brother about it because nobody knew. It was just me and Maddie that knew. We were at Whataburger one day. It was like 1 a.m. too. We literally cried in that Whataburger. So it was, he really got to me, and I was like, I can't do this to my baby. I can't even imagine how she feels, like me pushing her to not have this baby. And then I was like, I got to text her right now and let her know that I'm here for her and I'm here to help her in anything that she needs.
It was just a text message in the middle of the night saying, I love you.
I'm here to support you. I'm here to be with you.
I'm happy about our baby and we're gonna make this work.
We're gonna work this out and I love you. So it was a really great night for us. This baby's just a big blessing to mine and Maddie's lives. So this is Eliana, and she really fits our family of 4. She has an older brother, Dominic. So what I look forward to most, I guess, in these next few years is really just seeing her grow up.
Without the support of Sav-A-Life, I really don't know where I would be in my relationship. I don't know if I would even have my daughter here with me now. It really goes to show the big impact that they do have in our lives. I'm a real person and Eliana's a real baby, and this is our real story.
So my name is Henry Tolbert, and I'm part of the board here at Sav-A-Life. And in the past, I had the honor of also being the men's program coordinator. If I've got 30 seconds to convince a guy, right, to be involved in a child's life, one of the things that I would say is, I would start with your own story. What is it that you really feel like you're on this earth to do? What is it that you really feel like ultimately you want to have? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to be married at some point? Really, maybe what we're looking at is not that you're in a situation that you don't want to be in. Maybe you're in a situation for a timing that you didn't prepare for. And if we can help close the gap between whether or not you feel ready and whether or not you feel like you have the resources, then maybe we discover that this is not a wrong decision. This is not a wrong situation. It's just a harder timing than what you prepared for. But that's why we're here. We're here to help close the gap between what you're prepared for, what you have, what you don't have, so that we can help you speed up that timeline, get ready, and actually just do something you already want to do, maybe just a little sooner than you planned.
Growing up, you have a lot of things you go through in life that you see your parents go through things, but you don't know how to solve them. And you just see problem after problem. By coming to class, it gave me other mentors, other guys that can talk to me about what a man should be, what a father should be.
You're learning how to raise your kids and how to connect with your kids and how to connect with your spouse and family and how to raise your kids up Bible-based.
The role I believe I play is really just almost to bounce off ideas with them when we're discussing and talking about being a father.
I was always opening my mouth, raising my hand to ask questions, and what do you think about this, and how did you handle that? And they always had an answer. They always had something to say.
A lot of times maybe they didn't have the model. We're realizing, maybe sometimes they saw some bad things, but not some good things. Get them introduced maybe to the model of what it's supposed to be a father.
They women to tell them what type of man they want, but they're not teaching them how to be a man. It's just teaching them to be the man that the woman wants. So you have a male who's been through depression, divorce, having kids. He can kind of pretty much guide you in a way that a woman can't, because it's a different feel for the woman's side than the man's side.
We know that the father is the most influential voice in the decision for a young lady to carry. That when a father is excited, when he's ready to go, it changes things. Like even in my own story, when my wife or my girlfriend at the time called me and told me she was pregnant with our first child, I could hear the timidity and the fear and the concern in her voice. And then when I responded with excitement and said, I'm ready, it's time for us to build this family, the tears that came from her face were not tears of fear or sadness. They were tears of joy because she knew she wasn't alone and we were ready to walk through it together. And that young man was able to make that transition all because he knew he had help. He had help. He had what he needed. He had somebody to come alongside him and say, you don't have to do this alone.
My most favorite thing about being a dad is joy. Like the kids give me joy. And what I want my kids to remember the most about me is being a good Christian man.
I think being a dad is awesome. I was like, man, what I love about being a dad is I want to teach him something. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm all giddy about, I can't wait to teach him how to swing a bat, or you know what I'm saying, like how to catch a ball. Just little stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Change a tire, you know what I'm saying?
The greatest gift I received by coming to the class is my knowledge of being more of a parent, to be more of a father for my kids and more of a husband for my wife.
I've been just touched and amazed with these men and their stories. I really have, and it's changed me.
So our goal is to serve mom, not just through the pregnancy, but after the pregnancy as well and beyond. We want them to know we will walk with them throughout their journey, at least until the child is 3 years of age. So what does that look like? We have education programs, parenting education, practical parenting. We have programs for dads because we know an active and engaged dad will mean a greater outcome long-term for the child. We have gift of birth class, childbirth education. We have a program where they can earn car seats, what to expect during pregnancy. We have one-on-one mentoring where they can literally pick and choose the curriculum. So maybe they already have one child. So maybe they need to be thinking through, what does it look like with a toddler and a new baby? Or, I mean, there's any number of things and topics that we can talk through with them. Then when they earn baby bucks, when they come to those classes, and then they have an opportunity to go and take those baby bucks and shop in our beautiful baby boutiques.
When I think about the current climate around this pro-life issue, I would often make the joke that I'm pro-life, I'm pro-birth, and I'm pro-choice, right? I'm pro-choice. I just believe the choice should happen sooner. I think when it comes to how we deal with sexuality and things of that nature, we all have a choice to make about the kind of protection that we use, the kind of decisions that we make. And so I don't think that choice needs to be made when a child is involved. It needs to be made before they're created, right? I think I'm pro-birth in that I do believe every child deserves a chance. And that means that's why we support things like adoption and things of that nature. But I'm also pro-life. And, one of the big accusations against the pro-life movement is that we only care about the child being born. And I think Sav-A-Life does a great job of breaking that stigma, because so much of our program is built around what happens after. It's parenting classes, it's ongoing support, it's walking fathers through, the gift of birth classes where, we would take them, we would go with them to the hospital and do a class there and show them all these different things that they've never done, how to swaddle a baby, how to prepare a bottle, right? How to do all these things to be there, to be the supportive of the child and the mother. And I think all those resources that happen on the back end show that we're concerned about not just the child getting here, but it actually being born.
All right, baby girl, I know you're hungry, especially after being off the church.
We got all that.
Yeah. This is Miss Charlotte. She's the princess of the group. We have 3 boys and 1 girl. Charlotte is 6, and of course she has daddy's heart, being the only girl, because the boys, they love their mama. They are all mama's boys, like seriously. Charlotte has cerebral palsy, and just due to some of the challenges at birth, we have to feed her by way of G-tube, which is just connected to inside of her stomach.
Definitely challenging parenting. We have 3 in the house right now. Our 4th is in college, and I will say he was like our 3rd parent.
Yeah, he was huge help, great big brother.
Right. Lennox is 9, pretty much at that age where Legos and electronics can kind of keep his attention. Are you guys playing each other?
We're playing with you.
Huh?
We're playing with you.
Legend, I think Charlotte wanted a kiss earlier from her twin. She didn't want a kiss from me. She always loves your kisses because you're her twin brother. Come here. Hey. I'm strong.
No jackpot. What's jackpot?
What do we say? Say it after me. I'm strong. I'm brave. I can control my emotions. And I'm okay. My diagnosis won't define me. Okay. You okay now?
Yeah.
Remember, we have to talk. We have to speak that. And then you see with her twin brother, Legend, great spirits, great kid that loves sports and just loves being outside, but he has those times where, being on the autism spectrum, he breaks down. It takes a while to get him back into character, and oftentimes I will say the challenge with him is you just have to be vigilant all the time because
he's always getting into something.
He's always in something.
All right, you want to try on your own, throw it to him? Remember, I know the ball bigger than your hand. Come closer, Lennox. Oh, good throw, man. High five. High five, Legend.
He's here, brother.
High five, dude.
Dribble.
Bend out. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so close, man. Try it again. 2, 3. Oh, you gotta let go of the ball, dude.
From where we were when we first walked into Sav-A-Life, pregnant with Lennox 9 years ago, till now, definitely learned a lot from Sav-A-Life, from discipline to, false narratives that we bring from our own childhoods to where God wants us to be with our children. That's definitely helped a lot.
I learned from Sav-A-Life that the dad is just as important as the mom is. One thing that our Dad's Night Out instructor would always say, a lot of times people always say, happy wife, happy life. But at the same time, he would say, it's very important for the dad to be happy too.
I am always going to be thankful to Sav-A-Life because the best thing I've learned was self-care. It's okay to take a minute to myself. It's okay to let a child cry for a few minutes if I need just a few minutes to get myself together. And I learned that from Sav-A-Life. And those are just godly principles, like we can't pour from an empty cup. And that's where I am now. I went from pouring from an empty cup to making sure my cup is full enough to where I can care for the kids. So I felt like at a time in my life, even though I had one child, I was walking in as immature, kind of like a young girl thinking, pregnant with my second one, and over the years, just with the teachings, the leaders that we had, the support, like I really feel like a mother, put myself in a mothering position, not only that I could be proud of, that I know God would be proud of.
And that will do it for today's Buzz for Good. Thank you so much for tuning in. And you can find out more about our work on our website, buzzforgood.com. That's buzz, B-U-Z-Z, 4, good.com. As well as our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, all at Buzz for Good. Continue being a Buzz for Good in the community you hold dear, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye now.